Final Fantasy VII Remake is one of 2020's most hotly and highly anticipated titles, and with that comes through the roof expectations. And I'm going to give you the top 3 reasons why I think Square Enix is not going to be able to deliver on that and ultimately give us a disappointing product. And then to play devil's advocate, I'll give you 3 more on why they will be able to actually meet those expectations and give us the game that we all want and hope for. Reason number 1. For those that have played the 1997 original, you know that the opening section of Midgar is just a small, tiny fraction of the overall game. It can be beaten in about 5 to 8 hours. And Square Enix has also said that the remake will be a fully fledged, full-length title. So how are those things going to be compatible? Is that a full-length title of 20 hours, 30 hours? Is it going to be more of a traditional Final Fantasy where it's 50 or 60 hours? Only time will tell, of course. The point is how are they going to take a 5 to 8 hour experience and balloon it and blow it up into a full-fledged experience of even 20 or 30 hours without adding in a lot of bloat, maybe a lot of meaningless side quests, fetch quests? Again, only time will tell, but it makes me a little weary that they're going to try to justify their own existence of this game by padding out the playtime as much as possible, when instead they could have cut out hypothetically 20, 30, 40% and given us a more tight and concise experience. Reason number 2, and maybe the most important reason, is that this game is truly over 20 years in the making. Almost 23, actually. 22 and a half years in the making. Really, it started in earnest, if you guys remember, during the PS3 generation when Square showed off that PS3 tech demo of the open and revealed through trailers and such that new story elements will be introduced earlier into the game than they were in the original title. With that, I've been seeing a lot on Twitter that, it has a lot of people a little worried that they're going to take the original game that they know so well and is so beloved and just maybe not give it the attention and the respect that it deserves. They want more of a remake and a shot-for-shot remake with just, updated graphics on a beautiful, PS4 for the 2020, gaming audience. Personally, for, me, and I'm sure many of you that are watching this, you've played the original enough to where you know the game inside and out, especially that opening 5 to 8 hours. I personally would love to see it remixed, to see, what they've changed, what they've added, what they've maybe subtracted, what they've moved around. But I know there is a very diehard set of fans that just want a more pure, I don't even know if this might be an oxymoron, but like a pure remake where it's basically, the same story beats, the same character dynamics, the same character relationships, just put it on a brand new engine, put it out, and, they're as happy as can be. And reason number 3, only time will tell if that formula is actually going to work out in Square Enix's favor. Personally, I would love to see everything remixed. Throw it all in a blender, all the characters, all the stuff that you would see, throw it in, spin it up, see what comes out, see what sticks, I've played the original so many times, half a dozen times or more. At least that opening section, definitely more. I know the story beats of that opening area of Midgar like the back of my hand. I would love to see what they change, but I know a lot of people don't feel that way. So who knows if it's actually going to work out. It could blow up in all their faces. It could be great. When you take such a beloved property and you take something as well known as a Final Fantasy VII, and then you start messing and tinkering and toying with it, that it kind of, makes people a little nervous. Just think about, what, and again, I don't know if this is a perfect analog, but just think about what George Lucas did with the special edition Star Wars movies, the original trilogy, where he started adding in a bunch of CGI and he started changing things around, where all the purists got upset because that's not the movie that they grew up and loved. That's not the Star Wars that they remember. And so, is it going to be something along the same lines with the Final Fantasy VII, where they just start changing things just to change it because they think it's better, and it turns out it just makes the game maybe more muddied, it's not as concise, who knows? And now here are the 3 reasons why this game will not only meet, but exceed everyone's expectations and give us the game that we all want and hope for. Reason number 1, the name and the brand recognition alone. As I've said a couple times, Final Fantasy VII is one of the most influential and important games of all time. It's what put Square Enix, at the time Squaresoft, on the map to a general gaming audience. Final Fantasy at that point was pretty niche. Those games were all and are still highly regarded, but it was a very, very niche genre. RPGs were not mainstream, but when Final Fantasy VII came out, it put that company and that genre on the big stage. I mean, we were seeing and again, for people that were there, you were seeing Final Fantasy VII commercials on MTV. You were seeing them in places that you wouldn't normally. The kids at school that, would never be caught dead talking about, a nerdy RPG were now, talking about Final Fantasy VII. And so it was really a big shift in the gaming landscape. Not only did it put Square Enix on the map, it actually put Sony on the map as well. This was their first big, huge exclusive. Final Fantasy VII was supposed to be on the N64, but because of the hardware limitations that Nintendo had chosen, to go with the cartridge and things like that, Sony was able to kind of court Squaresoft to the PlayStation, and it was kind of obviously it worked out very well mutually for both parties involved. But that alone, and again, that history of the title and its importance and its influence is going to allow people to overlook a lot, if not all, of the flaws that the game may have. Reason number 2 that this game will be a success is that Square Enix seems to be taking a lot of time and giving this game a lot of attention and care that it rightly deserved. You have to remember, when this Final Fantasy VII Remake was initially announced, it was actually supposed to be developed by Cyber 2 Connect. If that name doesn't sound familiar to you, they are most known for the Dot Hack series. And I saw that, I remember seeing that and reading that and being like, what the hell? One of the most important games of all time, one of the most important and influential RPGs of all time, and you're giving it to the guys that make Dot Hack? Nothing against that, but they just don't have the ability to deliver a high quality title that, this game, deserves. Obviously, Square Enix saw that. They took that game away from them, brought it in-house, decided to, develop it internally, and it seems to have paid off. Again, all of the preview events say that this game obviously looks great, it plays well, so it seems to be paying off. Thank you, Square Enix for doing that, because God only knows, could you imagine an alternate reality where the Dot Hack guys made Final Fantasy VII, and that's kind of, what we were stuck with? Oh, man. Whew. And reason number 3 that I think this game is going to be a success is, believe it or not, the battle system. I like the idea that it is more of an action RPG if you want it to be, but again, it speaks to a more, and this is going to be a little controversial, but stick with me, it speaks to a more modern gaming audience that kind of, not that there aren't millions and millions and millions of, traditional RPG fans, because there certainly are, but it just opens up the ability for this game to speak to many different demographics that might not traditionally play an RPG. They more like the action games. And, you think, Assassin's Creed now is more of an action RPG than anything else. And so by being able to play it like a more traditional RPG, which they've talked about, but also being able to play it more like an action game and an action RPG, it kind of brings the best of both worlds together. And again, opens that door so that, people that might not have played it originally because it is an RPG, but they realize, hey, I can play it this other way that I am more accustomed to or that I like more. Again, it just broadens that opportunity for this game to speak to millions and millions of more people, millions and millions of more people play it. Hopefully, if it sells well, which again, I think it's a no-brainer. If it reviews well, by all accounts, hopefully it will, we'll get part 2 sooner than later. And there you guys have it. The top 3 reasons why this game is going to disappoint and the top 3 reasons why it won't. Let me know what you guys think. Am I just completely crazy, which is entirely possible? Am I just off base? Is there anything that you would change? Is there anything that you guys are worried about? You pretty safe to, or is it pretty safe to say that this game is just going to do well no matter what? Give this video a thumbs up, hit the subscribe button if you like this, check out our other content, yada, yada, yada. And until next time, stay safe.